You ever stop and think about how strange life is? I mean, we're just kind of passing through this world, right? Things get tough, challenges pop up, and sometimes it feels like the weight of it all is just, well, a lot. But here's the thing, there's more to the story. Wait until you hear this. Life on Earth is temporary, and what's coming next? It's not just better. It's way beyond anything we can imagine. Let's dive into that. Okay, so let's start by thinking about life here on Earth for a second. I mean, if you're honest, life can be really messy sometimes, right? We deal with hardships, struggles, disappointments, and yeah, just a lot of stuff that feels heavier than it should. And Paul, in the letters he wrote, kind of puts this into perspective for us. He reminds us, and I mean really reminds us, that this world isn't our final stop. We're just passing through like travelers on a journey. Think about it like a train ride or a long road trip. The train keeps moving, the scenery keeps changing, and the stops along the way, well, they're temporary. That's kind of how Paul describes our time here. We might get really comfortable at one stop, maybe even get attached, but in the end, we're heading somewhere else. And the destination, wait for it, is infinitely better than anything we'll find on this side of eternity. Now, Paul doesn't sugarcoat the fact that life can be really tough. In fact, he lists all kinds of challenges we'll encounter: persecution, heartbreak, confusion, and even moments where we feel like we're completely knocked down. And you know what's fascinating? He says, despite all that, we're not destroyed, not forsaken, not in despair. It's like he's saying, yeah, it hurts, and yeah, it's hard, but don't lose heart. Don't let the weight of this temporary world crush your spirit. And that's such a refreshing way to look at things because it acknowledges reality. He's not telling us, oh, everything's fine, or just smile through it. No, he's honest about the struggles, and then he flips the perspective. He invites us to see life from an eternal viewpoint, and here's why that matters. When you understand that this world is not your permanent home, those hardships start to look different. They're no longer the whole story, they're just part of the journey. Here's a fun way to think about it. Imagine your life as a tent, like a camping tent. You pitch it, you live in it for a while. It protects you from rain and sun, but over time it sags. The fabric wears thin, maybe a pole breaks, and eventually it's going to be packed up and left behind. That's a lot like our bodies and our time on Earth. Temporary, functional, but never meant to last forever. Paul uses this image. He calls our bodies earthly houses, tents, vessels, jars of clay. Basically, reminders that what we have here is fragile and fleeting. And that's okay because the best isn't here yet. The hope is in what's coming. It's like living in a small apartment while you're waiting for your dream house to be built. You make the most of the space you have, but you know it's temporary, and you're looking forward to that amazing permanent home. So, with that perspective, Paul wants us to keep one foot planted on earth, but always keep our eyes fixed on heaven. And here's where it gets really interesting. He talks about this constant tension between what we see and experience now and the reality of what's to come. He says, basically, don't get too wrapped up in the things that are visible because they're temporary, fleeting, and often disappointing. Instead, focus on the things that aren't seen: heaven, eternity, and the promises of God. And I love that phrase because it's kind of a mental trick, right? It shifts your focus. Instead of being crushed by what's happening right now, you're reminded that there's something bigger waiting, something eternal that makes the temporary stuff seem lighter in comparison. And that's why Paul keeps referencing those who came before us, the folks in Hebrews 11, sometimes called the Hall of Faith. These were people who faced incredible trials, yet their eyes were fixed on heaven. They endured, persevered, and trusted in what they couldn't yet see, knowing that God had something amazing prepared. And you know what? That's a lesson for us today. We might feel like our troubles are enormous, like the walls are closing in, but if we keep the eternal perspective, suddenly the weight of the present seems more manageable. It's like carrying a backpack. You feel heavy if you focus on every single stone inside it. But if you remember you're hiking toward a mountain peak with the view of a lifetime at the top, that same backpack feels lighter, doesn't it? Another thing that Paul emphasizes is that we're not permanent residents here. We're pilgrims, sojourners, travelers. Peter puts it similarly when he calls Christian strangers and pilgrims on earth. And that language is powerful because it reminds us not to get too attached to this world, not to invest our ultimate hope or identity in it. Yes, enjoy it. Yes, live well. Yes, love people and make a difference. But remember, it's temporary. That can change the way you react to hardships, disappointment, and even the day-to-day grind. It doesn't make them disappear, but it gives them context. It tells us that the struggles, while real, are momentary when compared to the eternal glory that awaits. So, if we summarize this first part, here's the main takeaway. Life on earth is temporary, full of challenges, and sometimes downright hard. Paul wants us to acknowledge the difficulty, but not be crushed by it. He encourages us to maintain an eternal perspective, to focus on what's unseen, and to remember that we are just passing through. The hope of heaven isn't just a comforting idea, it's a real anchor that changes the way we live now. With that hope, even the heaviest burdens start to feel lighter, and the journey, no matter how tough, has meaning. We're not stuck here, and the best is yet to come. And the moment you start thinking that way, suddenly, the ordinary, messy, temporary stuff of life doesn't have quite the same power over your heart. It's like having a sneak peek of what's waiting, a little glimpse that says, hang in there, because the ultimate destination is going to be worth it, way beyond what we can see or imagine right now. Alright, now let's dive into one of the most fascinating parts of what Paul is teaching, our physical bodies. Paul compares our bodies to earthly vessels, tents, jars of clay. Basically, it's like fragile containers, temporary homes for our souls and spirits. And honestly, it's kind of amazing when you really think about it. I mean, look at your body for a second. It's a miraculous thing, sure, but it's also temporary, right? It grows older. Things start to wear out, muscles weaken, joints creak, hair turns gray, or disappears, depending on your luck. And just like that, our bodies remind us daily that they're not built to last forever. And that's exactly the point Paul is making. Our bodies are good for what they do here on earth, but they're not our final permanent home. They're like a rental property, functional, useful, but not the dream house we're really aiming for. Paul calls our bodies earthly houses and tents. And if you've ever camped, you know exactly what he's talking about. A tent is great when you need shelter for a night or two, but eventually it sags, rips, leaks when it rains, and smells a little musty if you leave it up too long. The older it gets, the more maintenance you have to do. Patch a hole here, retighten a rope there, maybe even replace a broken pole. And our bodies, same deal. They need constant care, exercise, nutrition, sleep, doctors, vitamins, maybe even a little nip and tuck here and there. The older we get, the more attention our bodies demand, and some days, no matter how careful you are, it feels like the sagging and wear are just unavoidable. That's life. But here's the kicker. Paul says that even though our earthly tents are temporary, there's a glorious home waiting for us. There's a transformation coming that far exceeds anything we can imagine. He even uses the metaphor of jars of clay. That's kind of funny when you think about it, right? Clay, fragile, breakable, earthy, and yet inside these jars is something incredible. The treasure of the gospel, the presence of Christ, the Spirit of God. So while the vessel itself might wear out or get cracked, the treasure inside is eternal. It's like having a priceless gem inside a paper bag. The bag might tear, but the gem, untouchable, unbreakable, and eternal. And that's exactly what Paul wants us to see. Our physical bodies are fragile, imperfect, temporary, but what's inside is eternal, and that's what really matters. And someday, that treasure is going to get a perfect, permanent container, right? That's the glorified body we're talking about. Now, let's talk about what that glorified body actually looks like. Paul explains in Philippians 3:20-21 that our lowly, temporary bodies will be transformed to be like Christ's glorious body. That means they'll never age, never get sick, never feel pain, never grow tired. Imagine a body that's perfect, imperishable, immune to all the decay and wear that plagues us now. And yet, here's something that's really comforting. We'll still be recognizable. You'll look like you do now, just perfected. So when you meet loved ones who've gone before, or when you see friends in heaven, you'll recognize them immediately. It's like a high-definition, upgraded version of yourself and everyone else you know. No awkward surprises, no weird transformations, just the best, perfected version of the people we love. That's a hopeful, reassuring thought, right? And there's more. Paul talks about what some scholars call the universal age of glorified bodies. Basically, when we arrive in heaven, we'll all have the same age, a kind of ideal adult age. Some traditions suggest it might be around 30, the age when Adam was fully grown, or the age when priests began their service in the Old Testament. So if you're over 30 now, good news, you'll stay looking like that perfect age. If you're under 30, well, you'll be upgraded early. And the amazing part, even children who've passed away will be recognizable, just in their perfect form. Parents, siblings, friends, everyone, you'll be able to see and reconnect with them as your glorified selves. And that includes a reunion with those who died young. It's not confusing or alien. It's perfect, restored, and joyful. Paul also reminds us that our current bodies are chemically similar to the earth itself. Dust, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and other trace elements. They're the building blocks of our bodies. Genesis even says that Adam was formed from the dust of the ground. So, yeah, we're literally dirt balls. And that's kind of humbling, right? But the beauty of it is that God, who made us from dust, promises to transform that dust into something eternal and glorious. So even though our bodies are earthly and temporary, they carry within them a divine promise, a future glorified body that will never decay. Think about your body as a vehicle for now. It gets you around, lets you experience life, love, and relationships, but it's not meant to be permanent. One day, this vehicle will be upgraded into something far beyond our current imagination. And that's exactly what Paul wants us to hope for. All the aches, the creaks, the sagging, the leaks, the wrinkles, they're temporary. Our glorified body, though, will be eternal, perfect, and ready for the next stage of life, which is being fully present with God in heaven. Here's a little humor for perspective. You can keep taking your vitamins, drink your protein shakes, go to the gym, and do all the things to maintain your body now, but eventually, gravity wins. Eventually, things sag, decay sets in, and our earthly tents show their age. That's just science. But the wonderful news is, you don't have to worry about that in heaven. No sagging, no leaks, no wrinkles, none of it. It's like trading in your old, rusty car for a brand new luxury model that never breaks down, never needs gas, and always drives perfectly. Paul makes it very clear that this promise isn't just wishful thinking. It's grounded in the life of Jesus. After his resurrection, Jesus had a glorified body, recognizable, tangible, but perfected. He ate, he walked, he was known by his disciples, and yet he transcended the limits of mortal life. That's our preview, our guarantee, and because Jesus has glorified himself, we, as believers, will also receive glorified bodies. It's a concrete promise, not just an abstract hope. And here's something else that's reassuring. Paul doesn't leave us guessing about how this will happen. He talks about our longing to be clothed with our heavenly habitation. It's not about simply dying and being done. It's about being fully transformed, fully equipped, fully glorified. The desire to leave the earthly tent behind isn't morbid, it's hope-filled. It's about moving from something temporary and fragile into something eternal and perfect. That's the transition from our earthly experience to the fullness of life in heaven. And yes, it's okay to find a little humor in all this, because life is strange, right? One minute you're trying to patch a leak in your tent. The next minute your body reminds you that it's aging faster than you'd like. But that's the beauty of the promise Paul gives us. The imperfections, the wear, the tear, it's all temporary. And the glorified body, that's eternal, perfect, complete, and ready for the fullness of heaven. So, to wrap up this part, here's the main idea. Our bodies are temporary, fragile, and ever-changing. They age, they sag, they leak, and eventually, they'll decay. But inside these bodies is something eternal, a treasure, a spirit, a divine promise. And one day, that treasure will be housed in a glorified body that's imperishable, perfect, and fully recognizable. Loved ones, children, friends, even ourselves, all restored to a universal ideal age, free from pain, decay, or suffering. The best is coming, and it starts with the transformation of these earthly vessels into glorified, eternal bodies that will last forever. Alright, so let's talk about suffering and glory. Yeah, I know, talking about suffering isn't exactly the most fun topic, right? But here's the thing, Paul doesn't shy away from the reality that life can be really hard. He talks about hardships, persecution, being struck down, feeling perplexed, maybe even carrying the weight of disappointment and pain every single day. And if you read between the lines, you can tell he's not sugarcoating it. Life can really press in on us. Things happen that just feel unfair, confusing, even devastating. We lose jobs, relationships fail, health issues pop up, people betray us. The world sometimes just seems relentless. And Paul lived that life. He wasn't just theorizing. He went through imprisonments, beatings, shipwrecks, danger from robbers, danger from his own people, sleepless nights, hunger, exposure to cold. You name it, he faced it. It's almost exhausting to read the list of things he endured. And yet, here's where it gets really interesting. He calls all of this light affliction. Light affliction. Wait, hold on. That's incredible when you think about it. All the beatings, the hunger, the near-death experiences, light affliction. How is that possible? Because Paul had the eternal perspective. He was looking beyond what's visible and temporary and seeing what's coming next. And that changed everything for him. And this is the key, right? Perspective. Paul is saying that, yeah, life is tough, but compared to the eternal glory waiting for us, what we experience now is momentary. Even the heaviest burdens, the deepest sorrows, the hardest trials, they're temporary. They're like clouds passing across a bright sky. They might block the sun for a little while, but they don't define the whole day. And for Paul, the eternal reward wasn't just an abstract idea. It was real, tangible, and worth everything he went through. That's what kept him going when life got brutal. And it's not just about surviving hardships. It's about understanding that these sufferings are part of a bigger picture. Part of a story that has a beautiful, glorious ending. Let's put it in a more relatable way. Think of it like training for a big event, maybe a marathon. The training is grueling. You're sore, tired, exhausted, maybe even doubting whether you can finish. But you keep going because you know the finish line exists, and crossing it is going to be worth every painful step. That's how Paul looked at life. The challenges, the pain, the persecution, he wasn't ignoring it. He wasn't pretending it didn't hurt, but he was seeing it in light of eternity. He knew the glory that awaited far outweighed anything he was experiencing now, and that gave him joy, hope, and perseverance. And here's something that's kind of mind-blowing. Paul isn't just talking about abstract spiritual reward. He actually lists out the kinds of suffering he personally went through. He got beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, faced danger from rivers, robbers, even people he trusted. He endured sleepless nights, hunger, exposure to the elements, and yet he calls it light. Why? Because he was looking forward to something far greater than the temporary pains of this world. He understood that while life on earth can be crushing, the eternal glory that awaits us in heaven is infinitely more powerful and satisfying. It's like looking at a tiny scratch on a car and realizing, wait, this car is about to be replaced with a brand new, flawless model. The scratch doesn't matter anymore because something far better is coming. Paul even frames suffering as a kind of exchange. The trials we face now, the struggles, the discomfort, they're temporary. They're fleeting when compared to the eternal weight of glory that we'll experience in Christ. He makes it sound almost paradoxical, doesn't he? Hardships feel heavy, real, immediate. But in the grand scheme, they're light. They're fleeting. And that's such an encouraging perspective. I mean, we all get bogged down sometimes, right? Things hit us hard and we feel like it's more than we can bear. But Paul's words remind us that these moments are temporary. And they're producing something eternal inside of us. Something gloriously unbreakable. And there's another point Paul emphasizes. It's not just about enduring suffering. It's about the life of Jesus being manifested in us through it. Even in the midst of his struggles, Paul says that these trials are opportunities for Christ's life to shine through him. In other words, hardship isn't meaningless. It's a channel for God's glory to be revealed. That gives suffering a purpose beyond just survival. It's shaping us, preparing us, and demonstrating the life of Christ within us. And that's something to really hold on to. It transforms the way we see pain and difficulty. It's no longer just a burden, it's part of a bigger narrative, part of God's plan to produce something eternal and beautiful in us. And then he sums it up in chapter 4, verse 17. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. It's a powerful statement, right? One moment of reflection, and suddenly the weight of our struggles is put into perspective. Light affliction, momentary, working toward eternal glory. Paul doesn't minimize pain, he acknowledges it, but he frames it in a way that transforms how we experience it. Instead of despairing over hardship, we can start to see it as part of a journey towards something unimaginably glorious. And that brings up the ultimate point. We're not meant to be defeated by life on earth. We're meant to endure, to persevere, to cling to the hope of what's coming. We're meant to see life here as temporary, and life in heaven as permanent, perfect, and glorious. The contrast is stark, and it's meant to keep us grounded yet hopeful. Even when the world feels overwhelming, even when trials feel endless, Paul's perspective reminds us, keep going, press on. The best is yet to come. Think about it like looking through a window. You might be standing in a dark room, and the view outside shows sunlight, a beautiful landscape, endless possibilities. That's our hope. The hardships in life are like shadows inside the room. They exist, they're real, but the view outside is where our eyes should be fixed. That's where the eternal reward awaits. And when we focus on that, the present struggles don't disappear, but they lose their power to overwhelm us. So, here's the takeaway from this section. Life is full of challenges, and Paul doesn't pretend otherwise. Hardships are real, suffering is real, and sometimes it's brutal, but compared to the eternal glory awaiting believers, these afflictions are temporary, light, momentary. They're shaping us, refining us, and preparing us for something unimaginably beautiful. Paul's own life is a testimony to this perspective. He endured more than most of us could imagine, and yet he called it light because he was focused on eternity. And that's the kind of perspective that changes everything. When we start seeing suffering through the lens of eternity, when we understand that present afflictions are temporary and that they're leading to eternal glory, it transforms the way we live, the way we persevere, and the way we hope. It gives us resilience, patience, and a sense of awe for what's coming next. So let's remember that. The struggles are real, the hardships are real, but they're only a small part of the story. The eternal glory that awaits is vast, unending, and far more magnificent than we can imagine. And keeping that perspective, Paul's eternal perspective, is what allows us to endure, to hope, and to see our present suffering in a completely different light. It's a reminder that life on earth is temporary, but what's coming next is forever, and it's going to be worth every struggle, every trial, and every challenge we face now, okay? Now let's talk about something that's both fascinating and comforting, trading our earthly dwelling for a heavenly home. Now, Paul really dives into this idea in his letters, and it's worth slowing down to grasp because it touches the heart of what life after death looks like for believers. So here's the picture. Our bodies. These earthly tents or houses we live in eventually wear out. They get old. They break down, they succumb to sickness, accidents, or just the natural passage of time, and that's perfectly normal. It's part of life on earth. But Paul wants us to know something amazing. The moment we die, our spirit doesn't just fade into nothing. No, it goes to be with the Lord immediately. Right then, at that very moment, our spirit is in the presence of God, experiencing joy, peace, and fullness in a way that our mortal body never could. Now, our bodies, the tents, the jars of clay, are left behind. They decompose, they return to dust, or if you prefer cremation, well, that's a much faster process. Either way, our physical body isn't lost, it's just waiting for the ultimate transformation. When Christ returns, our decomposed, temporary body will be glorified, made perfect, imperishable, just like the glorified body we talked about earlier. And that reunion, spirit, soul, and body coming together, is what Paul is pointing toward. It's the full package. Heaven is our ultimate home, but it's also a complete restoration of who we are in the most perfect sense. Here's where some people get confused. Certain groups, like Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists, teach that when we die, we go into an unconscious state called soul sleep. In other words, they believe we aren't aware of anything until the resurrection. But Paul is crystal clear. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Our spirit continues immediately in conscious fellowship with God. We're not asleep, we're awake, fully alive in His presence. And that's huge, because it tells us that death isn't a gap, a pause, or a nothingness. It's a transition, a change of address, if you will. One moment you're in this earthly tent, the next moment your spirit is enjoying the presence of God while your body waits for its glorified transformation. And to make this relatable, let's talk about how humans are made. We're not just bodies, we're body, soul, and spirit. Our body is the physical shell, the vessel that interacts with the world, feels sensations, and experiences life on earth. The soul is the seat of our emotions, reasoning, understanding, and will. It's where we think, feel, and make decisions. And the spirit is the eternal part of us, the part that connects with God, the essence that lives forever. So when we die, the body stays behind for a time. But the soul and spirit, intertwined as they are, immediately go to be with the Lord. And the best part? That soul retains understanding, emotion, and recognition. We're still ourselves, still aware, still able to experience the joy of being with God. It's not some blank, unconscious state. It's conscious, complete, and perfect. Now, let's make this a little lighter for a moment and think about the idea of moving houses. You live in a house for years. It's familiar. It has memories, maybe some quirks, maybe some leaks, maybe a noisy floorboard that drives you crazy. Eventually, you move to a new home, a better home, a permanent home. The memories and the experiences of the old house aren't lost, but the house itself doesn't limit or define you anymore. That's a bit like our earthly bodies and our new glorified bodies. The tent served its purpose. The glorified body is our permanent, perfect home, suited for eternal life in God's presence. And just like moving into a new house, there's excitement, relief, and anticipation of something better. You're not leaving behind who you are, you're upgrading to the full eternal version of yourself. And here's a beautiful detail. In heaven, we'll recognize each other, our loved ones, even children who died young will be recognizable, restored to their glorified form. So if you've ever worried about not knowing your family or friends, yet Paul's teaching clears that up. You'll know them, you'll connect, and you'll be reunited in joy and perfection. It's not confusing or alien, it's a glorious reunion, and it's exactly what God has prepared for us. Paul also makes it clear that heaven isn't just a place you go, it's our true home. We are temporary residents here on earth, citizens of heaven in waiting. This perspective changes everything. We don't despise or ignore life on earth, but we don't put ultimate hope, identity, or security in it either. We live faithfully, love well, and make the most of this time. But our eyes are fixed on the eternal reality, the home God has prepared. It's like being on a long journey with a suitcase full of essentials. You enjoy the trip, you make the stops meaningful, but you're always looking forward to reaching your dream destination. And let's talk about humor for a second, because life can be serious. Imagine explaining this to a kid. Yes, we're just in a temporary tent now, but don't worry, one day you get a mansion. It sounds funny at first, but that's the heart of Paul's message. We might grumble about our tents, our earthly limitations, our aches and pains, but the promise is coming. A permanent, glorious, perfect home with no leaks, no sagging, no decay, no death, and it's waiting for us. Every trial, every challenge, every moment of discomfort is just a reminder that we're not meant to stay here forever. This is a stop along the way, a temporary address until we move into our eternal home. And what about the transition? Paul makes it clear it's not mysterious. The moment of death is immediate in its spiritual effect. Your spirit separates, goes to be with the Lord, fully aware, fully conscious, fully alive. Meanwhile, your body remains in its earthly state until the resurrection. Later, when Christ returns, your body is glorified, reunited with your spirit and soul, and fully transformed. That's the fullness of God's plan. There's no uncertainty, no waiting in some unconscious void. It's a transition from temporary to eternal, from incomplete to perfect, from mortal to glorified. So, if we bring this all together, here's the essence. Our bodies on earth are temporary tents, fragile and limited. Our spirit and soul, however, are eternal and go immediately to be with the Lord when we die. Death is not the end, it's a move, a change of address, a step into the eternal reality. Eventually, our bodies will be glorified, perfect, imperishable, and reunited with our spirits. Heaven is the ultimate home, where we'll recognize loved ones, experience joy without end, and live fully in God's presence. And in the meantime, we're temporary citizens here, learning, growing, enduring, and preparing for that perfect home. It's a perspective that transforms how we see life, suffering, and even death itself. It gives hope, comfort, and excitement for what's coming, reminding us that this world is temporary, but heaven is forever. And honestly, just thinking about that eternal reunion and the perfect home waiting for us, it's enough to make all the challenges of today feel just a little lighter, don't you think? Alright, now let's imagine heaven for a moment, and I mean really picture it. Paul and John in the Bible give us these glimpses, especially in Revelation 21, and it's absolutely breathtaking. Picture a place where there's no more death, no more suffering, no more sorrow, no tears, ever. The kind of perfection where pain, heartache, and even bad days don't exist. I mean, just pause for a second and let that sink in. Every loss, every struggle, every sleepless night, every tear shed, it's all gone. The moment we step into heaven, those things vanish, replaced with peace and joy beyond anything we can imagine. And here's the thing, it's not just about comfort or peace, it's about complete restoration. Imagine being surrounded by loved ones who have gone before, your family, friends, even children who died young, and you're all together again, recognizable, joyful, complete. That reunion alone is mind-blowing, right? Now, let's get visual. Revelation describes this city, Heaven's city, with streets of pure gold, gates of pearl, and foundations adorned with every kind of precious stone you can think of. Jasper, sapphire, emerald, topaz, amethyst, all shimmering brilliantly. The gold isn't just dull or brassy, it's dazzling, pure, radiant, like transparent glass. The light, the colors, the brilliance, it's hard to even imagine. And here's the awe-inspiring part. God himself dwells there. He's not distant. He's right in the middle of it all. And he's accessible. Every tear wiped away, every sorrow erased, every imperfection gone. Heaven isn't just beautiful in a physical sense. It's the ultimate experience of love, peace, and joy, wrapped into the most perfect, radiant place you could ever dream of. It's not just luxury, it's complete fulfillment, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. And let's keep it real. Our minds can only grasp so much of this because we're used to the limits of this world. Streets of gold, gates of pearl. It sounds almost unbelievable, right? But the point isn't just the bling, it's to show that heaven is beyond our imagination. It's a place of perfection, where beauty, love, and joy are endless and everything works exactly as it should. No more disappointment, no more loss, no more confusion or conflict. It's the ultimate reward for enduring, for persevering, for keeping your eyes on eternity. And think about how that changes everything in life today. When you know that such a place exists, the troubles of the present moment start to feel smaller. The challenges, the heartbreaks, the daily grind, they're temporary. They're just part of the journey to something infinitely greater. And heaven isn't just about the scenery, it's about relationships. You'll be reunited with everyone you love, fully restored and recognizable. But think about it. Grandparents, parents, siblings, children, friends, even pets if we stretch our imagination a little. Everyone restored, in perfect health, fully present, fully alive. Imagine hugging a loved one you lost, knowing that nothing will ever separate you again. No disease, no aging, no accidents, no misunderstandings, just pure, unending love and connection. It's mind-blowing to think about, right? That's the kind of reunion that makes everything we endure here worth it. And the beauty of heaven amplifies that joy because every person and every moment is surrounded by God's glory and perfection. The city itself, the streets, the gates, the light, it all adds to the experience of eternal fellowship, love, and awe. And here's a detail that's just amazing. Heaven isn't stuck in time. The Bible describes it as eternal, unchanging, perfect for all eternity. So if you've ever worried about aging, losing memory, or missing moments with loved ones, none of that exists there. Everyone is whole, perfected, and fully aware. We're not talking about some static or frozen existence. It's vibrant, dynamic, and endlessly joyful. Every sense, every emotion, every connection is enhanced and perfected. It's life as it was meant to be without any of the limitations, brokenness, or decay we experience here on earth. And then there's the presence of God. Revelation makes it clear He dwells among His people. That means we're never alone, never abandoned, never separated from the source of love, peace, and joy. Every tear is wiped away, every fear erased, and every longing fulfilled. That's something to marvel at, because no matter what we've experienced here, loss, pain, betrayal, suffering, in heaven it's all gone. It's a place where everything aligns perfectly with God's design, and we get to enjoy it fully, with nothing holding us back. Now, imagine the streets again, gold shining under brilliant light, gates of pearl reflecting every color of the rainbow, foundations made of sparkling stones that look like they belong in a royal palace or a dream you can barely describe. The city itself is alive with beauty, but more than that, it radiates God's glory, and we're part of that glory. We get to live in it, enjoy it, and be transformed by it every day for all eternity. The visuals are dazzling, yes, but the reality is even more breathtaking because it's full of love, joy, and fellowship. And that's what heaven really is, a perfect place to live, learn, love, and be with God and others forever. And here's a really encouraging thought. This vision of heaven gives us perspective on life now. When we're struggling, feeling broken, or dealing with challenges that seem overwhelming, we can remember that there's something infinitely better waiting. Every trial, every heartbreak, every difficulty is temporary, and the anticipation of this eternal perfect home gives us hope, resilience, and joy even in the midst of hardship. It's like knowing that you're on a long journey with the most amazing destination at the end. You might be tired, hungry, or sore along the way, but the view at the finish line makes every step worth it. And the beauty of heaven also includes community. It's not just a solitary experience of peace and joy, it's shared with everyone we love. And that's a huge part of the excitement. Think about it. No more misunderstandings, no more conflict, no more distance or separation, just pure, unbroken connection with family, friends, and all those who have gone before us. And all of it bathed in the glory of God. Imagine the first moment you see someone you've missed dearly. Imagine the joy, the tears of happiness, the laughter, the awe. That's the kind of reunion heaven promises. It's relational, emotional, and completely perfect. And one last thing, the description in Revelation is just a glimpse. John, when he wrote it, could only describe what he saw with the limitations of his mind and language. But the reality of heaven is even more amazing than anything we can imagine. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no heart can fully comprehend it. But the promise is sure, and it's waiting for all who believe. The streets, the gates, the foundations, the light, the city, all of it points to a reality that surpasses our wildest dreams. It's beauty, joy, love, and perfection combined in a way that defies words. So to wrap this up, heaven is the ultimate reward, the ultimate home, the place where suffering, sorrow, and death are gone forever. It's a place of dazzling beauty, radiant streets of gold, gates of pearl, foundations of every precious stone. It's a place of perfect relationships, reunions with loved ones, and complete restoration. And most importantly, it's where God dwells, fully present with his people, wiping away every tear and fulfilling every longing. It's beyond imagination, beyond description, and yet it's real, promised, and waiting for us. And that promise changes everything about how we live, persevere, and hope today. It's the vision that keeps us going, that gives life purpose, and that fills our hearts with awe, wonder, and unshakable joy, because the best is yet to come. So, as we wrap up, just take a moment to think about this. Life here is temporary, and heaven is our true home. The struggles, the trials, they're only a chapter, not the whole story. The best is still ahead, and it's beyond anything we can imagine. If this spoke to you today, consider sticking around for more reflections like this. Hit like, maybe subscribe, and join us as we explore these ideas together. Thanks for listening, and take care until next time.